650 WCTC, the voice of Central Jersey. I'm Bert. We're back inside the Forge Jeweler Studios. Good to have you with us here. We're going to do our contest a little bit later on in this 7 o'clock hour. Bert's Stocking Stuffers. Some great prizes that we're going to give away coming up in just a little bit. Let's get to the Jersey Central Newsmaker Hotline and welcome back from Alzheimer's, New Jersey, who we had the privilege of working with some of their big events over this past year, just to talk about some tips that families can use around the holidays. If you have a family member or a loved one who was unfortunately dealing with Alzheimer's, let's welcome back Ken Zaentz to WCTC this morning. Hey, Ken, it's Bert Barron. How are you today?
Hi, Bert. How are you? Happy holidays.
Same to you. Good to talk to you. And, man, it's tough enough around the course of the year, Ken, when someone in the family has Alzheimer's. But around the holidays, that's got to be just a heart-wrenching thing for family members who are dealing with this.
It is. It can be difficult. It really, we always advise families that this is the time to sort of, adjust expectations, adjust routine, because the person with Alzheimer's disease just may not be able to do the kinds of traditional things that have always been done. So it's really important that families, adjust their expectations. And so maybe instead of going to, the big family get-together, maybe you break it down into smaller pieces, just as an example. Or maybe you don't stay as long if you're going, if you're going out with friends, or if you're going out to a restaurant, you try to pick some place that's maybe a little smaller and maybe at a time when it's a little quieter. So those are the kinds of things that that we try to advise families. The traditional family outings, the things that have traditionally been part of the holiday. Maybe you have to start to look at forming some new traditions, because the tried and true maybe doesn't work so much anymore.
Yeah, all good information, Ken, and we all love, the big family get-togethers where there's cousins and there's kids running around, and it's like pandemonium and bedlam, and the whole family is together, and there's a big meal, and those are great days. But as time goes on and we all age a little bit, as time kind of goes along, unfortunately, Alzheimer's, something like this, something that we have to deal with. And the routines change. It's unfortunate, but it's just kind of it's a fact of life, Ken. It's part of the reality of growing old and becoming an elderly person. And you have to be respectful of that. I think all the generations of the families have to be respectful of that.
Well, that's true. And then unfortunately, Alzheimer's, which is not part of the normal aging process, but if you put Alzheimer's on top of what you just said, which is completely true, it just throws another level of complexity, onto the issue. So that's that's really what happens. And you're right; those big family gatherings can be wonderful and exciting, and the pandemonium and can be great. But if you have Alzheimer's and you're having a very difficult time processing information and distinguishing sounds and your environment, you could see how that can lead to confusion, and sometimes confusion leads to agitation, and then families have unfortunately another issue that they have to deal with.
Sometimes there's just enough agitation between family members already, Ken, and you don't need to have that extra component kind of stuffed in there, right? You can't have that too.
And the other thing that happens around the holidays is that a lot of times, if the kids live out of state and they're talking to mom and dad on the phone, on a regular basis, and maybe mom is trying to explain to a son or a daughter who lives out of state some of the changes that are happening to dad, but the son or daughter is, talking to dad on the phone, and dad seems fine. All of a sudden, they come for the holidays for an extended visit, and all of a sudden they see the changes, and they start to say, "Oh my gosh, I know what mom was talking about. I've been away for a while, and now I've spent some extended time, with mom and dad," and then they start to see the changes. So, and then our phone calls, to our helpline invariably go up, a little bit after the holidays.
I'm sure.
The kids are calling because they've just, they've spent time, close amount of extended time with mom and dad, and they're seeing the things that maybe, mom has been talking about for a couple of months.
Yeah. Is it a good idea going into the new year, Ken, to just maybe kind of reassess things, check on the family members and, see if there's any early warning signs there? Is the new year a good time to kind of take a look at that?
Well, I think I think any time is a good time, but certainly that would be that would be a good idea as well.
Okay. Before we wrap up, you had mentioned there about getting these phone calls. Can you give us that number and also the website where people can get some more information about Alzheimer's New Jersey?
Sure. So our helpline number is 888-280-6055, and then our website is www.alznj.org.
Sounds good. Ken Zaentz, Alzheimer's New Jersey. All the best to you and the organization in 2017. And we're looking forward to another year of working together on your events. And it's great work that you're doing here in New Jersey, Ken. Please keep it up, all right?
Oh, thanks, Bert, and happy holidays to you and your listeners as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, Ken Zaentz, my guest from Alzheimer's.